Omar, and I want you to tell everybody in the complex, is the very first thing they need to do when you get back to your house is to call this number, 646-0798, okay? That's the code maintenance number. You need to call that number. Whatever your complaint is, call it in, okay? And we're going to be expecting those calls, okay? And we're knowing that all of those calls are coming from the same apartment complex, okay? And I'm going to ask code to be as aggressive as you can to get these people out here immediately to get in every unit that we can get in, okay? So we can take care of that by the first of next week if possible, okay?
Awesome.
All right?
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Ellen.
Secondly, for all of you who want to put your rent into an escrow account, I'll work with Mr. Reverend Turner and Reverend Turner, and we will work. There are many, and legal aid, you can help us with this process. We can identify other attorneys that will come and provide pro bono services on one day. Let's have a Saturday workshop right here where you'll have all your list of everything you need to bring with you, okay? So we can fill this form out with some legal help to help us in the process, okay?
Awesome.
All right? Now, you don't have to have legal help to do this, but we will provide people to try to do a hands-on to work with us to fill the forms out and those kind of things. Thirdly, collectively, you can march over to the court and file it all at the same time, okay? All right? That's what we want to try to get done in the next week or so, okay?
And just one more follow-up question. When they call on the phone, is there anything they need to be prepared to answer?
No, all you need to do is just your basic information of the address, your particular apartment number, and basically what is it that you're complaining about. What is your basic issue that is the problem, so we can take a look at those things.
Because it may not be code enforcement related, but maybe a DPU or something like that, like the atrocious house. We wouldn't take care of that. That's not under our authority. But if we can direct you where you need to be.
Right, but certainly call us and we'll direct it on to where it needs to be.
About the alley, they said that half of it is DPW, and they said the Department of Public Works. They said half of it is city-owned, and that the other half belongs to Magnolia Properties. So wouldn't that fall under code enforcement?
No.
No?
I think we talked about that when we met you a little while ago.
I don't know.
In effect, the only grading that is covered under the Virginia Maintenance Code is related to drainage, and as long as the grading doesn't create a problem against the building for ponding of water,
it does.
So who's responsible for that?
On that side of that building, it's like the ground is like going way down, almost beneath the what you call.
I'll tell you what, the next time it rains, call us, or the next time it's scheduled to rain, call us.
You got pictures.
I sent the pictures.
We got pictures.
Let's
We still have to do
that.
it.
The next time it rains, y'all just plan to come on over here. You know it's raining.
I mean, I've seen the pictures and videos too.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
See, Ellen. Shoot.
So, for the rest of this afternoon, I want to make sure that we're clear as to where we are, okay? And I know that you all have specific issues with your unit. Write it down and start looking for all of your receipts. Start looking for whatever information you have or calls that you've made in the past. Make a list of what has been done but was not completed. All of that kind of information is going to be helpful to you to attach to this filing, okay? So start working on that, all right? Make your phone calls, start collecting your information.
And if you lost your lease, call KRS. They they should give you a duplicate copy of your.
Are they required to? Like, Kim, how can they get copies of this?
No, they're not. They're required to give you a copy of your lease upon signing. Yeah, so, but if you guys have trouble, I can chat with you about that. Is it the case when people are asking for them, they're not?
Well, I mean, they never respond to any requests, so, I would imagine. And then once they've been tipped off about this meeting, I imagine that it would be more difficult.
No, they're gonna be mad when you put that money in their escrow.
So you said that you had the property with KRS. They should still have. They should still.
I would be surprised if they did that.
It's another owner, it's not our owner.
No, I know it's another owner, but that's who I did it when I purchased it.
That's how long they've been.
Well, maybe it's something to the issue where someone can bring a laptop or some computer with internet access, because if you guys have the tenant portal where you're supposed to be making those maintenance requests, you have that document right there. So if someone here has internet in their apartment complex, or someone has the ability to make a hotspot or something, like you said, if you're going to do a Saturday, let's all do a workshop, everyone should be able to, if you have access to tenant portal, you'll have to create a password,
People
but
have
it
faced the
immediately pulls
obstacle.
up yours.
People have faced the obstacle that they were told that they had to contact the rental office first and get some kind of code or something.
That's for payment of rent.
Right, and that's the whole portal. That's to set up the account online. So if they don't answer you when you contact the rental office in order to get this code to set up the account, you can't set up the account, and then you can't really do it on your phone. You
But
have
that's
to
a
go
scam,
to
because
a
even if you go to the tenant portal, you'll get confirmation emails saying that they came out and your
Oh, it's just a close.
yeah, it's closed.
Yeah.
They telling you that
But
everything
under the
is
document
She's talking about
check, is
to
it?
get
I
your
didn't
lease.
have to have a
You have
code to
a
set
copy
up
of it.
mine.
All right, so let me ask a question. Let me ask home a question. I want to ask home a question. If I would like to go meet with the owner-manager company and understand what their overall lease is, what the terms, the conditions, all of those kinds of things that you talked about in the beginning, that we would like to go, I would like to take you guys with me. We go visit them and get all of a boilerplate, if you will, of what they're leasing. Perhaps legal aid can help us out with this as well. So that at least we will invite them to come. We invited them today. They don't respond. They haven't responded either. But I think for us to try to do as much due diligence we can on behalf of the apartment complex itself as to what the terms and conditions of the owner management of their leasing policies, then we can share that uniformly with everybody and take it from that perspective as to, so that if they have something in their lease that says you got to call in and get a code for this and all of those kinds of things, we at least will know that.
Can I say just super briefly, because I know so if you're going to file a tenant assertion, you need to be current on your rent. So if there's going to be a date, that you all set up to do this, everyone who files one is going to need to be current. Okay? And we're going to need to keep paying going forward. You also need to have given your landlord written notice of the problems. Calling Mr. Walsh and getting a report from code enforcement, that will suffice. That will be good. But if you don't do that, you should do what we talked about earlier, of writing down your problems, take a picture, put it in the mailbox, and take a picture of the envelope with the address showing to prove that you put your landlord on notice. The last thing, if you don't have your lease, don't let that be intimidating about you coming to this, because you don't need your lease to file a tenant assertion.
Say that again. Say that again.
What your tenant assertion says is that they're violating the law, that there's unsafe conditions on the property, or that they're violating your lease, right? If you know the date that you signed your lease, when it started, when it ends, we can put that on here, right? You need to attach your lease to file this. So I think that Councilwoman Robertson is right, that we should you should be able to access your lease. It sounds like she's going to work on that with you.
Great.
But, they can't contract around the fact that you have this right. All right? So, I don't need to see the lease to know that people are falling through the floors in their apartment, that you have the right to file.
Right.
Yes.
But I want you to remember one thing that we said is critically important. You must be current with your rent. And once you put this in an escrow, you need to be current and make sure that you're depositing on a monthly basis to that escrow account. Is that
That's
right?
right, that's right.
But I also want to say this, you really do have to look at this as a team effort. So if there are 20 of you and only 15 have their rent paid up and on time, the snowball effect should be that everybody units get repaired. So don't, because you may not have paid all your rent on time, don't think that this does not matter or count for you.
Exactly.
Because when you have a team effort, what needs to happen happens for the entire unit. So you can't just be concerned about you. You have to be concerned about your neighbor. And that's part of where I believe this has to happen. There has to be a strategy, because when I listen to what I'm hearing, the complexity of it will keep us spiraling or going in circles, because there are dimensions that require legal aid, there's dimensions that require the city, there are dimensions that require a process. And while those things have to happen, you are still suffering from the condition that you're living in. But if you don't create the process, instead of taking 2 months to resolve this, it takes 8 to 10 or 9 or a year to solve it. So the other thing is, how do we come together and create a strategy that's going to address each one of the components that's necessary to make this process? Because you need to remember one thing, that they were not doing you a favor when they rented you that apartment.
Exactly.
They were entering into an agreement. Okay, and a lot of times we act like they were doing us a favor when they leased to us. No, we were entering an agreement, and in that agreement we both have responsibilities to honor. If you don't pay your rent, they evict you. If there are building issues, they're responsible for repairing them. But what I've heard is they created a shell game. And if there's a shell game, because if KRS have some power but don't have other power,
But taking all that money.
then you've got to understand that this is what we're up against. So if you understand what you're up against, then you can begin to create strategies to address what you're up against.
Exactly.
So if there are 5 tentacles to this problem, we have to come up with 5 strategies to address each one of those tentacles. So if you don't have, if your rent is not up to par, you may not be there to file this complaint, but you still stand with this community so you can get the issue resolved.
And then the other thing we want to make sure that you're aware of as well, and we're going to work on putting together some information for that, because if you are living in a situation, as we go through this legal process that we have to go through, okay? If you're living in a situation that is a real code hazard or code condition, and the city says it's not healthy for you to stay here, we need to know and be prepared as to how we're going to be able to support system and help in that situation, okay? The same thing with the person that is behind in their rent, that wants to stand with you, but are also concerned that because they can't, because they aren't caring, that they may get kicked out, okay? We need to anticipate these kinds of reactions and be prepared with a solution to try to address those. So what I'm going to do, in addition to that, legal aid, OMARI, home, code, revenue, turn, we're going to get together and have a little powwow meeting, so we'll make sure we're compiling our strategy and our information packages and those things that we want to make available to you, and also anticipate some of the unintended consequences that may come out of this so that we're best prepared to be able to support system for you. We don't want to leave you out there hanging. There are a lot of people in the city of Richmond that are living in situations just like yours, okay? All over the city, okay? That's the reason why I fight so hard for Affordable Housing Trust Fund, for the purpose of building safe, decent, affordable housing for everyone to have to live. We don't have sufficient affordable housing in the city of Richmond. That's why these situations can happen, because people don't have another choice, okay? And when people don't know what options they, and we don't have the courage to stand together and take the action that we can. But you can't have the courage to take the action that you can without knowing that you've got some support systems that are going to be there to help you through the process. And that's what my obligation and responsibility to you is as well, is to make sure that we're bringing these resources to bear to be that support system to carry you all the way through, okay?
Right. Shout out to Ellen Robinson. Re-elect Ellen Robinson.
Ellen raised the point if the inspector comes and decides that the apartment or the unit is not livable, do the landlord have a responsibility to that tenant to put them up till they fix the place?
May.
No, I think that.
That's a good question.
I think that they. You think it's done in the lease? So I'm gonna make sure that the answer's right and look up the code. Also, just to be clear, like it's really like. It's like the lawyer's worst nightmare to have to answer a bunch of questions without looking at documents. So let me look at the code real quick and tell you what I think. I think that generally speaking, I do want to say that I think Councilwoman Robertson's point is really important. That we have to, and that's why it's important. This is a collective response, right? Landlords do retaliate against people when they call for enforcement.
Yes, they do.
They do try to evict people. That will happen. They will, sometimes if the building gets condemned, they'll use that as a threat to say, you don't want to call code enforcement because everyone's going to have to leave, right? And everyone needs to be together in making a decision on how to have a strong response to that. Right?
The Great Richmond did that to Ashland Square last year when they didn't have hot water for months. They sent the residents notices and stuff saying that, oh, you might have to leave at the end of the month. The city may condemn you.
The same.
Same property. They did that last year.
Oh.
Well, let me say from the standpoint of talking about the lease, and I don't know that what I'm going to tell you is anything legal at all, but what we tell landlords is that if the tenant is paid up current and suddenly, due to no fault of their own, their unit becomes unlivable, we will exhaust all of our resources we have for social services and adult protective services and all that stuff, but ultimately our position is they have paid you for a place to live, you've got to provide something, whether it's here or somewhere else. Oftentimes when we tell them that, they'll go ahead and put you up in a hotel room or something for some short length of time, but really that motivates a repair. I'm telling you, paying hotel fees is not something they want to do. Now, one point I do want to make, and Reverend Turner brought up a great point, because I think it may have gotten lost a little bit in some of all of this. When we're talking about the rent escrows and code enforcement and those things, those are really two separate things. They can work together and they can help each other. But when it comes to, if you're not current on your rent, we don't care. The only qualification for us, for you to file a complaint, is do you still, at that moment, have legal access to the property?
Right.
If you do, we can come in and do the inspection. Now, we get caught sometimes, and I'll be honest with you, this happens more often than you want, where people will say, they'll call us and say, that place was terrible, it was awful, I need you to go inspect it. Okay, well, when can you be there? Well, I left yesterday. I turned my keys in, but y'all need to go over there and do something with it.
You're out of the
At
premise.
that point, until I can get the next tenant to help me and complain, I can't do it.
Right.
But whether or not you meet the legal qualifications to file an escrow really does not have a lot of bearing on whether we can do an inspection or not.
Okay.
Our only qualification, I'll say it one more time, the only qualification we need in order to be able to enter your apartment and do an inspection is that at the time we enter, you still have legal access to that apartment.
Okay.
Okay, so now let me bring up, I want to help you all with something else I want you to do. Whether you continue to live here or someone else lives here, we want to help you to set up an effective, organized tenant association. Because the process of acquiring all the information we've tried to pour into today is an ongoing process, okay? So with an effective tenant association that meets every month, talk to Reverend Turner, I'm sure he will be willing to accommodate you for a meeting space. We will be, and others will be able to come, and you can invite any of these folks and other folks for information. So you need to get yourselves a tenant association. That's critical, all right? You also need to continue to stay together and work together on this process, okay? So don't drop the ball on it. That's very, very important that we do, okay?
And don't quit, because, you know, I know when I hear what I hear from the tenants, I understand things are not good.
Yeah.
But you can't quit. And so we have to start a process, and we have to see the process through. It's one thing living without hope. It's another thing living through situations and challenges where we can see what the end is going to be. So whatever it is that you're going through right now, I wish I could say we could fix all of it tomorrow. All of us know that's not true. But don't quit. And if you don't quit, I know that we can come up with a plan that will change the situation. I just don't want anybody to think that it's going to happen
Overnight.
Tomorrow, because again, when I sit and listen, that's why I'm just sitting and listen. I heard about 4 or 5 different tentacles that we have to address to really resolve the problem.
So the other thing, so for example, the reason why sometimes you cannot, make a decision, okay, I can terminate this lease officially and be clear and go somewhere else. So let's say you need $1,000 or $1,500 now to move it to a different place. That's not a little piece of money, okay?
And they gonna hold it.
And you out of it. You just might as well say you just giving that up, okay? So one of the things that we are working on through the Community Wealth Building Department at City Hall, the anti-poverty initiative that we've pursued, is looking at, for people that want to buy a home for the first time, we will give them a down payment grant, which means they got to stay there for a certain period of time. So now we are working on how can we create a grant for a security deposit for apartments. And that's going to have to be a process. There's going to have to be a pool of money that we work on making that happen, okay? But it won't have to come out of your pocket if you qualify for it. So I'm saying that to say is when we talk about creating a tenant association, we also need to look at what are the voids in providing quality rental housing and what creates a hardship for people to be able to make sure they can move into quality, affordable rental housing, just as we've worked on for years for home ownership, okay?
Okay.
Those are some of the kinds of things as we have these conversations, we begin to realize where there are gaps that perhaps we need to look at ways that we can plug some of them up.
There is one thing that nobody looked at. the tenants over there, there's 100 or so tenants.
64
Well,
units.
it's 60 units.
64 units.
All right, 60 units.
But it could be a
Times
hundred.
500, 600 a month, we'll just take 500, that's 30,000 a month. Now, I recognize that legal aid, but housing opportunities made equal isn't thinking about approaching the current owner and saying imperfect, because the tenant, not the tenants are paying over the course of a year, $360,000, would be something that could be for a lender, the beginning of a down payment.
To buy that,
It's not in
yeah.
escrow. So the tenant could buy, I understand that the building has to be repaired and brought up to standard, so that's built in. But it also could discount the price. And I'm just wondering if home has thought about that option, if there's a group of tenants who actually would stick together so that their actual payments could become
Happened in DC,
the
right?
down payment on an actual purchase, rather than them being tenants.
Yeah, they did that in D.C.
They did that in DC. The tenants brought the building.
So those are some of the kinds of initiatives as a tenant association that you will be looking at other opportunities of how you can, some of you may want to be a homeowner. How we can work. There are organizations that if you put $1 down, they'll match your dollar with so much towards where it's a savings account. Yes, for you to become a homeowner. There's a lot, as Reverend Turner said at the beginning of the conversation. He probably has more information or resources that this church can work in conjunction with you to provide opportunities for us to learn. So, sometimes it takes a bad situation like this to bring good people together.
Exactly.
To have a bigger vision that is good for all in the process. So, even though it is a very, very, very unpleasant situation, the good in it all is that as we come together, we will enhance the quality of life for everybody in the process and for the next group of tenants that come in.
Exactly.
Did you have something you want to say?
Yeah, sorry, so I have to leave, but about the question about condemnation, so I don't know the answer to that. I'll do further research. I think I want to look at your all's lease. I don't know that a landlord has an absolute obligation to pay for a hotel in that situation, but I will say that if Mr. Walsh will send something on code enforcement letterhead that says that your landlord's going to be responsible for putting you in a hotel, I would call Mr. Walsh and have him come look at your apartment. Well, no, but I don't mean that in a or like say that you may, right? That you may owe your tenant this. You won't. The law does protect you from basically like the situation where you would have to owe on your lease without getting housing, right? It's basically like if the property's condemned, you're not going to be responsible for the rest of your lease term. But I don't know. It's a more tricky situation about whether.
And that's the loophole we exploit, because we say to them, hey, it's the 5th of the month, they paid you to give them their money back or put them up somewhere.
So that's what I think that the tricky part is, and again, I know people don't like lawyers talking about, well, it's maybe this, it's maybe that. So I don't know whether they would have to give you part of your rent money back, or if they could do that instead of putting you up in a hotel. I don't know, I need to look at your lease and think more about it, but I do want to say that we're all here for you guys to help work through those problems together, and that you shouldn't be intimidated by your landlord, because they're clearly violating the law, right? I mean, that's the situation here.
And I heard him say that it's how the lease was written, but if we can get a definitive answer, because I threw that out because my mind has shifted to strategies. I hear people talking, I hear people complain, and after I hear what's on the table, then my mind shifts to strategy. So when I raised that question, in my mind, it was about strategy, because we have to have as many strategies as we have opposition and obstacles. So
yeah, no, and I just want to be really clear.
so
I'm never afraid to say when I don't know, because I know it's really important. It's really important to folks, and I want to make sure that we have the right answer for you. But I just will say that we're committed to getting the right answer.
Is there an email address you can contact?
Me? Sure. I've been talking with Amari. We're working closely together. So if y'all are interested.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, we got it late, but it was very nice to meet all of you. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Tom.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, all right, so the next step, just to make sure that we're straight, okay? Kai is gonna set up a meeting for myself, advisory partners,
I can tell you what,
okay?
OMARI is,
So that we will begin thinking through the whole strategy and the whole process. We will create a list, a task list for you, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so you'll know exactly what we need to do. What you are going to do, no later than Monday, is make a phone call to the code maintenance office, okay? And you're going to start collecting your information, and you're also going to begin to talk as residents about being a tenant association and at least setting up the date for your first meeting, okay? And we will also, there are people that will help you even form the organization and all of that kind of stuff, okay? So you don't have to do that independently. In addition to that, we're going to set a date, once the team get together, we're going to set a date so that we can make sure that these forms are filed, completed, with the attached documents, and a scheduled date for when is the best and appropriate time for you, based on your rent and who's due and where you are, to go to the court with this, okay? Those are the next immediate steps that we've agreed to. We'll find out for sure.
And if it can be waived. And also if it can be waived.
Let me just say one thing, because she said call back Monday. Please do me a favor and wait until Monday, because if you call over the weekend, it's going to kick you into the 311 system, and just call us directly on Monday.
It's too late on Friday. And over the weekend, make your list. Make your list.
Good idea.
So that when you call, you'll have your list ready, okay? And if you need any assistance from my office, you all have Kai's number, 646-7964. And my number, which I have some cards up here too, but don't call this number because I don't want to get rid of these cards, but I'm never at this.
It goes straight to me anyway.
Oh, it does? So call the number and it'll go to them. And you are welcome to take extra
Thank you for coming out too, Ellen.
and take them back to other residents as well.
Thank you for coming out.
All right?
Re-elect
Thank you very
Ellen
much.
Robinson.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, thank you.